This is Valheim's hardest mod pack, packed full of high-level elementalist bosses, unfathomable amounts of overpowered creatures, and tons of new stuff that we will all be showing today. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the videos. And today, if we get the time, we will be fighting our 5th boss, one of the hardest fights that we've had the entire server, with insane modded weapons, and the biggest group that we've had to fight. So please be sure to stick around for that towards the end of the video. But first, welcome back to the Valheim modded series. Today we're messing around with all the crazy modded weapons we made last episode, as well as a bunch of just vanilla ones and kind of messing around with them, just to test them out. Before we get started, I'm currently trying to make it to 2,000 subscribers, and if you guys could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for the support on the new series, as well as this one, and thank you guys so much for watching. Yesterday, we got a little carried away with weapon making, but it's kind of amazing because we get to see all of the modded stuff, as well as we have a bunch of Mistland stuff, which none of us have ever really gotten to use that much, so it's all fun to us. But we decided that the best way to test them out was to PvP each other, just a little bit. We all turn friendly fire on, and I want to go over what each of us made. So I still have my Sky Strike, which is the modded bow from Motor that we got. I have my Black Metal Knife, which obviously is not modded, but it's pretty strong, and then I also have my Tempest Staff, which is insanely modded and insanely awesome. Logan has the Demolisher, which isn't modded, but it's freaking hilarious in use in PvP. And Jake has an Arbalist, but Jake also has dual wielding like sword knife combo things that I think it's double black metal swords that he made, and they hit insanely hard. But yeah, we ended up messing around with this for a little bit, and I have a question for you guys. I'm gonna put this out on a post on my channel tomorrow, but I am curious, do you guys think that there is any room for PvP in Valheim at all? I mean, obviously the tools are there, but it doesn't feel like it would ever be the main focus of the game. But do you guys think there's ever a point where there would be like actual PvP servers in Valheim? So let me know what you guys think of that in the comments below. But the main point of making our main weapons, other than just killing each other a whole bunch of times, was actually to finally, even though we've already dipped pretty deep into the Mistlands, prepare for Yagluth. We spent a long time making sure our weapons are upgraded, making sure our armor is upgraded, and just kind of trading around weapons. I mean, I know we all made our own, but at the same time, we can't use all of our own. Giving Logan some, Jake giving me some of his, and me giving them both some of mine, just to kind of try and figure out what would be the most effective use of this. And on top of that, Nathan was going to be joining us, who hadn't been on the server in a while due to real life stuff, so we had to kind of armor him up and supply him as well. And we spent a huge amount of time just getting ready for the fight as best we could, and making sure that we had all of our bases covered, because if at any point in time we were going to get an unlucky boss spawn, with our luck it'd probably be now, because we've gotten really lucky on this entire series for what could possibly be spawning. However, before we get to fighting the boss, me and Logan had something to finish up from a previous episode. Logan wanted to tame a Lox, as he had built an insanely large pen for one that had never gotten to come back, and we had figured out that a lot of the modded stuff was also tameable as well, like the lions in the plains, which we hadn't really seen a lot of yet. So I was going to try and tame one of those while Logan was taming a Lox, and then we could bring them both back before we did the fight. But that was going to take a couple of holes, so we had to dig out some holes first and then find some suitable candidates. And in almost no time, we had found the 3-star regenerating Lox that would be our first tame. It regenerating health meant that it was going to be pretty strong, and all we needed to do was get it inside this hole. And while I was not the best at doing that, because I got absolutely whacked in the process, Logan was able to finish the job and get it inside the hole. And then all we needed to do was find me a lion called a Prowler to tame, and then we could figure out how we were going to transport both of these home. But the main thing was we needed to get both of them in a hole before, or we needed to get both of them tamed before we worried about that. The Prowler was not going to take nearly as big of a hole, and I had a harpoon, which was great. However, once again, as soon as we tried to get it in the hole, Logan did not die. I got absolutely whacked, and Logan and Jake had to get it in the hole for me. But we had both of our tames in our holes, and it was literally just a matter of time. So we sat next to them for a while. I built a little base so I would be safe from death skeetos and feelings, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited for probably about 45 minutes, and after about 45 minutes, they were up, they were tamed, and all we had to do was worry about getting them home. However, I will say, if you are using this mod pack, there's a configuration that you guys should look into changing if you are planning on taming things and riding them. I don't know that it was all specifically because of this, but our giant creature size, while it is comical and kind of awesome for the series, as well as it gives a good visual indicator of how strong what you are facing is, it does cause a problem with riding things, making pretty much anything over 2-star unrideable because of how the saddle glitches into the hitbox of the giant creature. So just think about that if you guys are thinking about using this mod pack. It is something you can change in creature and level control, but you do have to go in and change it if I send you the code. So think about that. Even with this little problem in the saddle though, we weren't really planning on riding them. The plan was to have them more as decoration and as a source of food and things that we could breed and kill for food, as well as hide. And like I said, just have them as decoration around the base because they would look cool in the village. However, to get them back to the village, we were going to need a boat, and we had one in the mod pack that was actually pretty good for transporting animals, as it had a big dip in the middle that you could actually fit things into. So Logan worked on building that. that? Well, I worked on going to the Mistlands, exploring a little bit more, and getting a bunch of general resources, so that way we could do Yagluth later in the day. We weren't completely ready yet, but the more Mistland stuff we could get, the better we could do, and we could only hope to prepare for what we might have to face later. But what weapon could I possibly be killing a Y'all in the Mistlands for? Well, let me show you. This is a modded weapon called the Amethyst Battle Axe. This is a weapon that Logan really wanted, that he would absolutely die for. He wanted this weapon so badly. And it was made with amethyst, which drops from high star creatures in biomes, especially ones like the Y'all. And we had noticed that that was the one that was dropping the most of them. So I found a 4-star to go ahead and get it for Logan, as he could use that for the Yagluth Fight, and he would have a second weapon, because as I said earlier, he only has the Demolisher. And if we get shoved with one like an Elementalist, not only are our bows going to be pretty much useless, as they kind of already are with Yagluth, but so are our staffs and the Demolisher, as well as Jake's lightning weapon. So we needed a couple backups just in case something like that happened. It was also food making time, because we were going to need a ton of food for 4 people, as well as things like arrows. Even though we probably wouldn't be using them for the boss fight, anything around us would absolutely be fitting for arrows. We needed all the food we could get, all the meads we could get, and also in the meantime, Logan had to tame another Lox because, well, his died, and also he couldn't really ride it. Like, we couldn't get it on the boat to bring it back anyways, but we did have the Prowler and the new Lox down at the beach waiting for transfer, and while we were making food, meads, arrows, and any other thing we could think of, Nathan was getting on. We were getting him set up, and it was looking like we were going to be able to do Yagluth today if we could get everything prepared, as well as hopefully we could get the animals back and start having animals in our village. And making food and preparing stuff was all we did for about 2 hours. Logan was gone and we were waiting for him to get back, so there was no reason to make a bunch. There was no reason not to make a bunch extra, but we got movement speed potions. I finally had my Crom built, which I don't know if I really pointed out that I had yet, but I had made it. I had all of our stuff organized. I made holy hand grenades in our cauldron, which was an option because they do spirit damage, and Yagluth is undead, so why not try it? Also, they were kind of freaking hilarious. On top of that, I had some of Jake's old staffs that were healing ability. Nathan had a bunch of weapons that we had built him and a bunch of extras. Logan had his stuff, and while we hadn't gotten the animals back, the portal was set up, the meads were ready, the food was ready, the summoner was ready, and we were going to just go ahead and do this as soon as we possibly could and worry about getting the animals back later. The only thing we really needed to do before we did it was clear out all of the area around, because the oosters and the fuelings, as well as stuff from other biomes, was absolutely screwing us from every angle, and the boss fight was going to make a lot of noise and attract a lot of attention, so we definitely needed to clear everything in the area that we could before we started doing that. And everything was cleared. We had the totems, we had our weapons, we had our food, and we had everything we could possibly need. It was time to start it. Also, by accident, I accidentally disabled their mic audio, so it's just me talking, but we still have the fight and also some insane weapons to start. So let's see what kind of spawn we get. Right over here. It's a 2-star as well. You guys hear this? I threw all the spirit bombs already. Ow, the fire, his fire, I mean, it's still a 2-star. Holy shit, I'm gonna die to that. I have 1 health. There's a quick prowler. Oh, I forgot about that attack. One sec. I am. I don't remember how I just died. Even with fire resistance, this thing was hitting insanely hard. The 2-stars that were on this boss were absolutely screwing us as far as how much damage it did, even with some Mistlands armor and weapons. However, we were doing really decent damage, and we had a lot of fun at the beginning with having the spirit bombs. However, they didn't do that much because the boss is an elementalist. It does not take as much damage from things like spirit, but it's also good because, like I said, we planned for this. I couldn't really use my staffs. I can't use my sky strike. Logan can't use his demolisher, and a lot of the other weapons we had were completely completely unusable, which means that we made a good decision by spending the extra time to make a bunch of weapons. And like I said, we did still use the things like the Sky Strike to kill the surrounding enemies. Otherwise, we were just pretty much stuck to trying not to get hit by absolutely anything, because the fire ticks for 14 damage a tick, even with the fire buff on. Without it, it ticks for like 60. But other than that, we just had to kind of do as much slash damage as we could, continue trying to DPS it, and make sure that at least one of us was here at a time doing damage, even if it was with a bow, to stop him from healing. $200 something with my poke, yeah. Like my heavy attack. My heavy attack has way more range. I can stay out of the fire and hit him with the heavy. That's the growl. That's the growl. I have Crom. Oh yeah, Jake has 2 swords. Even some of the basic fire attacks, because of the 2 stars, were hitting me for like 25 damage per tick with the fire resistance meat on. Which means that pretty much if we had a 5-star, this boss would be impossible, which is part of the challenge of the mod. Now, this was the most unlucky we've gotten so far. It's a 2-star, it's a fairly hard boss, and it's an elementalist, which stops us from using a lot of the weapons that we made by progressing to the Mistlands early. Nonetheless, we are still doing a lot of damage. We have the other thing that I was able to use is my crystalline staff that Jake had from previously in the series. Is a modded staff from the Wizardry mod that allows you to do damage, but it also allows you to heal your teammates. And obviously the damage wasn't going to do much, but the healing of teammates was really good, and it was something that we were able to utilize throughout a lot of the battle. So if you guys end up playing this mod, definitely check out that staff, because it was one of the most helpful things we had in the mod for this fight. However, after this point, pretty much all that had needed to happen happened. We figured out the rotation of me healing people, me healing myself. Jake had learned the rotation of the boss's hits, which he didn't know because he had never fought it before. And even though our capes were breaking, our armor was breaking, and some of our weapons were even running out of durability, we were starting to put in damage extremely quickly, and stuff had kind of stopped bothering us, leaving us to just do as much damage as we possibly could. And after about a 45-minute fight, we finally had the 5th boss of our playthrough down. And that was the 5th boss down, the plains completed, leaving us to do the Mistlands next episode. However, we did spend our fire resistance as well as some of our extra weapons and food, since we still had it, doing one of the modded bosses, Svault, that we had found earlier in the playthrough and gotten absolutely wrecked by, just as a little bit of revenge, since we had the pieces that we needed, and it's kind of cool to get to do the modded bosses. But after that, me and Logan actually tried to move our stuff back, and we actually ended up getting the Lox and the Prowler killed, as well as the boat broken. So we never got to bring any of the animals back, but that's okay. We still had a successful day killing Yagluth, killing Svault, and getting a ton of progress, where next time we will get to continue into the Mistlands. If you guys are enjoying the series, please let me know down in the comments below. Give me any feedback you have. I love when you guys tell me things that I could make better about the videos or things that you like about it. This support on the series has been insane. I'm currently trying to make it to 2,000 subscribers, and if you guys could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do truly hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.